Hello, my name is Aiden Floria. Today I'm going to be presenting through the screen. We're going to be talking about managing money. So this portion of this option of the project that I chose deals with student loans, specifically college loans, financing, monthly payments, and calculations that have to deal with such things. So moving forward, get my screen here. So I'm gonna run through this question by question just to explain all aspects of what was asked on my end of this project. So starting with question one. So assuming you take out a $10,000 student loan on your first day as a college student, and this loan earns an interest of 4% annually, which is compounded annually as well. How much will you owe at this one loan, or owe on this one loan after 4 years' time? So to start, we have the principal amount of $10,000. We also have R, the annual interest rate, which is 4%, or you can also write that as 0.04. You just have to multiply that by 100 to get the 4%. The compounding periods is just 1, which is N. The time is 4. And then I do have the formula there. It's harder to do on the computer. I do have it where the formulas are longer and more thoroughly explained out. I do have screenshots from the actual document that I worked on, so that will be a little easier to follow along. But here's my work here, and then you could see you will owe around $11,000 or $11,698.59, rounded after 4 years. And then moving on to the next question is after graduation, assume the 4 years above, the loan now earns a 6% APR compounded. Repayment will begin 6 months later after graduation. How much will you owe on this one loan? So again, we have this new principal, which is the value we used for the previous question of 11,000. The new annual interest rate of 6% or 0.6%. The compounding period per year is 12 monthly, so you have 12 periods of payment per year, and then the time is 6 months or half a year. And here we go. Here's one of the screenshots I had from my document. There's the formula. There's my work, and then you get the answer of 12,053 and 96 cents. This is the amount owed on the loan after the 6 month grace period. And moving on to the next question. Many student loans have a 10-year repayment period with payments made monthly. Using the method of example 4, and through going back and looking at this section, this is the rate of approximation for ARMS, to determine what the amount of monthly payment is to pay off the loan, from item number 3, and this is over the 10-year period. So again, we have this new principal, which is $12,000. I cannot say this value. We're just gonna say $12,000. I keep messing up. My apologies. The annual interest rate, R, is 0.06 again. The total number of monthly payments over 10 years, with 12 months in a year, you do 10 times 12. That gives you 120 payments. And then the monthly interest rate is 0.6 divided by 12, which gives you 0.005. And then moving forward, this is the continuation of question 3. Here's my work shown on my screen is to the left. There's my work there. Solving that out, you get a monthly payment of $133.82 for the 10-year repayment period. Moving forward, if I'm talking fast, I'm trying to get this done within a 15-minute time frame. When I saw that was in the rubric, so we're going to try to make that happen. Assuming a 10-year repayment period occurs and all payments are made, how much have you paid total? So the monthly payment is $133.82 with the total payments of $120. You multiply these two guys, and you have $16,058. Holy moly, I cannot say this. $16,058. Oh my god, 16,000. I'm just gonna say 16,000. For some reason, it just is not processing in my brain right now. The total amount paid over the 10-year repayment plan is, again, this value of $16,000 shown here at the bottom. Moving forward, Of the total amount you have paid through item number 5, what portion is interest, and then discuss the difference between the original loan amount and the amount paid. What might be some ways to reduce the total amount paid? So the total paid is the value previously solved for, the 16,000. The repayment principal is 12,000. You subtract these two guys, and then you get a total interest of $4,004.44. This is the amount of interest that is owed after the 10-year period, and again it is shown there. So moving forward, and I think actually if we move up one more slide again, some ways to reduce the amount of total amount paid. Ultimately, it's hard to change plans because you're already in it, but as you accumulate interest, that value is going to keep increasing. So if you can find a plan, if you're willing to pay more monthly, that is shorter in time, it may decrease, or it will decrease the interest. So if you change from, let's say, a 10-year plan to a 5-year plan, which is a very short time frame, but that will significantly decrease the $4,000 in value or of interest that you have accumulated, because it's all accumulated to the 10 years of spending or the 10 years of repayment that has been going on. So now let's move forward. Some repayment programs let you repay over a total of 25 years. However, you pay a higher interest rate. What is the amount of monthly payment, or what the to pay off the loan? Hold on, I got mixed up. Using the method of example 4 in section 4D, as we explained before, determine what the amount of the monthly payment is to pay off the loan over a 25-year. So this is essentially the same question, just over a 25-year repayment plan with an 8% APR compounded monthly. So we have the principal of $12,000 here, new annual interest rate of 0.08 or 8%. Which is the R value, the number of monthly payments, and over 25 years. So 12 to 25, 12 years times 25, or 12 months, 12 months by 25 years equals 300 payments 300 payments in total. Monthly interest rates, and then 0.08 divided by 12 gives you 0.066, and then it was 667 repeating. So moving on to the next question. This is the same question continued. You get a monthly payment of $93.10. Now this is significantly lower than the $133, I believe it was, for the previous 10-year repayment plan, but this is due to the prolonged amount of time that you were paying over this loan. So I asked in a later question if this is better for a college student. I think if you are on a very tight budget at the time, this may be a good plan, but eventually you're going to accumulate loads of interest that you're eventually going to have to pay off. And I believe the interest surpassed the value of the loan. So depending on if you're able to pay it off at the time, I guess is a big contributing factor moving forward. And there's my work again. So assuming you choose a 25-year repayment period in item number 7, assuming all payments are made, how much have you made total? So you have the monthly payment of $93.10. You have the total paid. Multiply this monthly payment times 300, and then you get a value of $27,930. The total amount paid is, again, this value over the 27-year period. Now, I believe the next question is how much interest you pay. Yes, it is. So total paid is $27,000. The repayment principal is $12,000. So you accumulate a total interest of $15,876.04 that you have to pay off, which is a very large value, way over the loan of $10,000. So that is the accumulation of loans over this 25-year period of time. Moving on to the next question. This is the same question, question 8. So, as I stated here, this is much more, as I stated previously, this is much more than the original amount borrowed, which was $10,000, or $12,000, which was the repayment principal. Either or, it's still $3,000 or $5,000 more. This is a result of the amount of time that was chosen to repay what was borrowed. As time goes on, the amount of money that is needed to be paid from interest increases, as I explained before. So ultimately the difference between a 10 and a 25 year is the amount of interest that is you're paying and the monthly payment value. Now, $93 compared to $133 isn't a terribly big difference. It is a difference in the world of college, as we all, or most of us, have trouble paying for stuff already. So if someone were to pay for this initially, right out the gate, as a college student, it might be hard to pay $133. But the main difference is the monthly payment and the amount of interest that is accumulated. So the interest accumulated for the 10-year program was only, our 10-year plan was only 4,000, compared to a grand result of 15. So ultimately, it's just whatever you can do at that moment. If you can do it at that moment, I would choose the 10-year program. But if you can't, the 25-year program may save a lot of time and effort at that moment. So moving on, if a student loan payment were capped at 5% of one's before taxes monthly income, determine what annual salary. This is pretty much the salary someone would need to pay off these plans. So with a 10-year plan, you take the monthly payment. You have, sorry about that. You have the little, I have another screen above me, so I kind of have two different viewpoints I'm looking at. That's why I pointed above me. But 133, and then you get this little formula. So 0.05 times the monthly income, and you kind of, I'm trying to see how I did this here. I divided one by the other. So you get the monthly, you change the formula to the monthly income equals 133.82 divided by this 0.05, and then you get a monthly income of $2,676.40. Multiply this by 12, and you get an annual income of $32,116.80 for the 10-year plan. And then for the 25-year plan, you do the same thing. Multiply or divide 93.10 monthly divided by the 0.05, you get a monthly income of $1,862, which is much less than the other monthly income, almost $1,000 less. And then multiply that by 12, and you get an annual income of $22,344. So this is almost $10 grand less than the 10-year repayment program. So again, as I explained before, this might be more valuable to someone who may not have that money at that time. Moving forward, the continuation of this question. So to afford the 10-year plan, one must earn at least an annual salary of $32,000, and the 25-year plan is $22,000. So determine the current interest rate for credit cards from your bank. Let's assume rather than taking out a student loan, you charge the full $10,000 on day one. Use the determined interest rate. How much of your monthly payment try to be, and this is pretty much just explaining the difference it would be for using a APR with a credit card. So I did some research on my credit card or on my bank, what they charge for their APR. So I believe it depended on several factors, but it was between 15.99% and 25.99%. So all I did was take the average of those two numbers and got 20.99% for the annual interest rate, which is 0.2099. So you take the principal 10,000, take that R rate, total number of monthly payments, N equals 48 for 2 years. Monthly interest rate, you get 20.99 or 20.2099 divided by 12, and you get this lovely number here, 0.017, and then a bunch of other numbers, which is used in this part of the question. There's my work there, the formula, and you get a monthly payment of $309.60, which is a steep price compared to the $133.93 previously found. So you get a total paid of or you multiply this value by 48 the 2 years, you get a total paid of $14,860. And the amount of interest paid is $4,860.80. So moving forward off of that, we have these lovely paragraphs that I inserted into here. So pretty much just to sum up what I said in here. So you have the credit card plan, which is $4,860 compared to the 10-year plan, which is $4,000. And I believe this question asks what would be the better choice out of these three options. Personally, if I was someone in college, and I was financially stable, sorry about that. If I was financially stable enough, I would choose a 10-year plan. The credit card plan, you are paying it off in 2 years, but you are paying $300 a month. That's almost $200 more than $150 more, $200 more than the 10-year plan. And it's X amount more than the 25-year plan, which is over 25 years. Don't know why I said that twice. But the total interest, in comparison, are pretty similar between the credit card and the 10-year plan. It's about an $800 difference, $854 difference, give or take. These two values are pretty similar in terms of interest, but one is much more manageable than $300 compared to $133. $133 is much more manageable as a college student than $300. $300 a month is a lot, and I feel like a lot of people would not like to pay that. Yes, you are getting it paid in 2 years, but it is a lot of money, and it will take a lot of work to either pay that off, or it just won't be able to happen for a lot of kids. So I feel like the 10-year plan gives people a little bit of room to work with payment-wise, and it doesn't accumulate too much interest, while the 25-year plan, it may be cheaper. It's not much cheaper than the $133, the 10-year plan, in comparison from the 10-year plan to the credit card plan, there is a huge difference. Comparison from the 25-year plan to the 10-year plan, give or take, it's a difference, $40 difference. But you accumulate $15,000 of interest with this 25-year plan. So it's based on preference ultimately and what you're able to do in the moment. But for me, I would choose a 10-year plan because I'm not accumulating an absurd amount of interest, and it would just be better financially. Sorry about that. It would just be better financially. So just with a 25-year plan, you're paying less, accumulating a ton of interest. 10-year plan, paying a good amount. I feel like it's a good middle ground, good amount. Decent amount of interest, $4,000. The credit card plan, steep price monthly, lower interest rate, or interest paid at the end, but it's done in 2 years. I would personally choose a 10-year plan. But, yep, I think that is all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for your attention, and have a good evening. It is 9 o'clock for me. I don't know when this will be watched, but good evening, good morning, good afternoon. But thank you for your attention. I need to find a way to turn this off.